Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about something that is important to me. In a recent video I talked about some of my favorite plays, and I mentioned Angels in America and the Laramie Project. Now if you've heard of those plays, then you know that it deals with the topic of same-sex orientation. Now that may not be a phrase that you're used to saying. The more common terms are like gay rights or homosexuality. Both of those terms I just don't particularly prefer, so I just like to say same-sex orientation. I'm just gonna lay a couple of rules, although I don't think that I need to. Any just overtly negative BS comments will just be deleted. Any comments that are just a waste of space that actually aren't contributing to anything will just be deleted. If you find that you disagree with everything that I say, you can make your own video or your own blog and state your opinion. You're not going to use my video as a platform for you, because this is my channel. Okay, and if you're confused about those rules, I have a couple videos that will help you. I have one called Winning Over the Haters and Religious Inclinations. You should watch those if you feel compelled to say certain things to me. So let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was raised a conservative, evangelical, yet non-denominational, fundamentalist Christian in a very certain kind of church. And growing up, I never had to actually deal with issues of same-sex orientation. I didn't know of anyone. It was just never an issue of my life. It's like, I don't know, living in a neighborhood where there's only one kind of people. Like, it's only white people or only old people because you live in some retirement home or whatever. So I just never had to even think about that issue, and it was just never brought up in the church I was raised in or amongst my friends or anything. It actually wasn't until I went to college that I actually had to think about these issues. Sometimes it came up in my sociology classes, but it more so came up in my theater class, which was theater and culture, one of my favorite classes to date. And we had to read the play Angels in America and the Laramie Project, and we watched the Laramie Project. The Laramie Project is about Matthew Shepard, who was a young man who years ago was killed. He was beaten and killed because he was attracted to men. And so when so for them to develop this play, they went to the town that he was raised in, and they interviewed the entire town and created a play based off of it. And I remember watching the play and crying the entire time. And not because I'm an overly emotional person, but because, one, the issue was finally brought to my face. Like, I saw it head on now, you know, never having had to encounter it before. But now it was in front of me in this play. Now I knew someone's name, and I realized a human being had been murdered for a ridiculous reason. So I watched that play, and I read Angels in America, and it just forced me to think. You know, like, I knew kind of that maybe my religious background said it was a sin, but that still didn't help me deal with the day-to-day things. Like, oh, but what if one of my friends was gay? What then, though? Because lots of things are quote-unquote sins. So I just started thinking about this, which it was just something I'd never done before. And I think that's what a lot of people have never done before. They have been told things, and they've been taught things, and ideas and beliefs have been passed down by generations, but the ability to critique and articulate their own thoughts and filters, and some people haven't done, and I hadn't done it until that time. And once I did it, you know, I was like, oh, I'm a Christian, so technically I'm supposed to think it's a sin. But now something else is going on. By my senior year, I'd taken more sociology classes, like sociology of sexuality. I'd taken more theater classes. By this time, I had traveled to Berlin, Paris, and London, and also around the U.S. By this time, I actually had friends that were same-sex oriented. So now it was actually a part of my life. It wasn't just some issue, some topic of discussion. It was the reality of my day-to-day life, and I found that even though at the time I was conflicted with thinking that being gay was a sin, I still felt like, okay, even if it is, what does that have to do with equality rights? And what does that have to do with the sociological implications? So what, it's a sin? What does that have to do with politics? I mean, there's plenty of things that are sins, but we still must address it. You know, having sex before marriage technically is a sin, but we still have to deal with educating youth on sexuality. We still have to create laws like, oh, you can't rape someone, or incest is wrong, or, you know, sure, sex before marriage is a sin, but we have to deal with what happens if someone, you know, a young teen became pregnant. So what? Something is a sin. There's still other things that need to be done regarding that topic. It's my soapbox. I talk about issues like this a lot on my blog. So at that time, even though I thought it was a sin, I knew that just saying that wasn't enough. I have a blog post where I talk about, the title is Jesus Never Said Love the Sinner, Hate the Sin, because he didn't. Try to find that in the Bible and you won't. And when I hear that, honestly, I think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I do. But you'd have to read that blog post to understand what I mean by that. I guess what it boils down to for me is that no matter your religious beliefs, no matter your political orientation, no matter your skin color, your nationality, no matter your sexual orientation, you are a human being. And being a human being, there are certain inalienable rights according to the United States, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so no one should be hindered from having a life full of abundance and full of joy or happiness because they happen to be a Muslim or a Christian, or because they happen to be Hispanic or black, or because they happen to be heterosexual or homosexual. You're a human being. And so that's the part that I don't get when I see radicals mount a soapbox against people who may be same-sex oriented, when they throw out words that are hurtful, when they throw out words that are violent, when they resort to physical violence, when they deny them rights. I don't understand how one person thinks it's okay to treat another human being that way. And it really gets under my skin, because I have friends. I talk about them on my blog. You know, one of my friends, he's a YouTube user, Hanksterchen. He's an amazing man. He's an actor. He was on Blue Blood and Law and Order. I traveled with him to Boston. During one of the dark moments of my life, he was there to help me. And to think that someone would negate him as a person because he prefers men, that goes over my head. I can't comprehend that. I don't care how uncomfortable it may make you seem, how unnatural it is. I don't even understand that argument that it's unnatural. There are many things that are unnatural. Birth control or just chemical medicines are unnatural, but people still use them. Getting fertility treatment, that's not natural, but people still do it. So, you know, I haven't found a logical explanation that would justify the mistreatment of people who are same-sex oriented. I haven't heard a logical argument that would justify why one man couldn't marry another man. Religion doesn't have a monopoly on love and marriage. We would like to think that, but that's actually not the case. So I see myself getting riled up. I know. It's just because it's a personal issue for me. It's not a political issue. It's not some topic. It's not a sin, or it's a personal issue. It's my friends who I see every day. It's the people that I work with. It's some of my family members. And they're people who I love, who are amazing human beings. And to either imagine them being mistreated or to actually see it, I don't understand it. I don't even get it. And then it's not even the point. So Hank recently put up a video because Kobe Bryant got upset, and I think he called a referee the F word, which I hate that word. I find it disgusting. I find it offensive. Even when my same-sex oriented friends use the word, I still am offended. And so Hank put up a video about that, and there's just some ignorant people who have left comments on his video regarding it. And honestly, like, it doesn't bother me. It just shows how ignorant they are, how ignorant they are. One of the things Hank did, and I know this does get under some people's skin, he was like, you know, you call the referee the F word. What if someone were to call you the N word? You wouldn't like that. And I know some people jump up and they're like, you know, racial issues are not the same as sexual issues. If you look up the definition of a civil right, well, you know what? Let's look up the definition. Alright, let's look up the definition of civil rights. It's not even freaking civil rights, actually. It's human rights. Rights. It says the rights belonging to an individual by virtue of citizenship, especially those guaranteed by the 13th and 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution and by subsequent acts of Congress, including civil liberties and freedom from discrimination. So, civil rights, black people don't have a monopoly on it. By that definition, mistreating someone who's same-sex oriented just because they are sexually oriented that way is a harsh and violent crime against their civil rights. And just as much as I hate the N-word, I hate the F-word too, and I don't think either should be said. And I think that if you're same-sex oriented, you should be allowed to marry just like anyone else. And I don't think it's a sin, and I don't think it's disgusting. I think it's a beautiful expression of love, and I don't understand the people who are hateful towards them. I don't understand people who actually have no personal experience or relationships with people like this, and they're speaking out the side of their necks. I don't understand people like that. Well, it's not even that I don't understand it, because I used to be trapped in that mindset too. It's more so that I haven't found any logical reason. So I'm not saying you have to agree with me. You probably won't. I have many religious friends who feel strongly in the other direction of this topic. But if you're going to leave feedback, I don't want to just hear, well, it is a sin. I'm going to need a little bit more logic than that. Otherwise, I'll have to delete your comment. You can unlike this video. Don't give a rat's ass. But what I do care about are the people in my life who I love, the people who I enjoy and who make my life better. And a good portion of those people happen to be attracted to someone of the same sex. And it matters none to me. I think it's beautiful and amazing. And that's what I have to say.